Hi, everybody. It's so great to see everybody here today. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Jenny Kim. I currently lead the Seller Fulfill Prime and Premium Ship Option programs. I've been at Amazon for a very long time, over 20 years, and I've been in this role for a little over 4 years. I'm going to be covering a few topics today, so I have a short amount of time. I'm going to be zipping through the slide. Please take notes. If you have any questions, happy to talk to you guys after the presentation or down at our booth. The topics I'll be covering are, what is Seller Fulfill Prime, the benefits for you, the pre-qualification, trial, and program metrics. I'll be going over the recent policy changes that went into effect as of the end of June. I'll cover a few tips on how to be a successful seller in Seller Fulfill Prime, and then we'll do a quick overview on the Seller Fulfill Prime dashboard just to give you some insight on how to navigate that effectively. All right, so what is Seller Fulfill Prime? So Seller Fulfill Prime allows you to offer 1 and 2 day fast delivery with Prime branding on your eligible offers. It, in turn, will increase your sales potential. And this is something where the program allows you to control the type of SKUs or ASINs that you want to enroll into the program. So you don't need to enroll all of your ASINs or your entire catalog. You can pick and choose based on the strategy that works best for you, based on the various channel mix that we have for Fulfill by Amazon, Fulfill by Merchant, Premium Ship Options, as well as Seller Fulfill Prime. All right, so I'm sure all of you are Prime customers, so this is probably a given, but where does the Prime badge appear? So if you take a look, when you go onto the Amazon.com page, you'll see a search filter where you can actually click that button, filter by Prime, same day, next day delivery. On the Amazon search bar, you can actually type in your item. You'll be shown various items that you're looking for. You'll see the Prime brand there. You can click on an ASIN. It'll take you to the product detail page, and that winning offer, hopefully it's your winning featured offer, will be shown there. As you can see in that second screen print there, you'll see the Prime brand with the Prime delivery speed, which is based on the settings you set in ship settings. And lastly, if the customer does add the item to their cart, in the checkout page, you'll see the Prime brand with the delivery speed based, again, the shipping speeds that you actually set as a seller. All right, so going over the enrollment and metrics. So in order to enroll into Seller Fulfill Prime, you do have to go through a trial period. In order to even be eligible for the trial period, you do have to meet some basic pre-qualification requirements. So to pre-qualify, you do have to have a professional selling account. You have to have a US domestic address as your default shipping address. And during this period, you have to have fulfilled for at least 90 days. This is you fulfilling directly yourself, whether it's through third-party logistic company, whether it's directly, some other method. It does not include any time that FBA, so Amazon's network, has fulfilled on your behalf. Okay, during this time, you will have to meet some basic FBM requirements. The requirements are that you'll have to meet a valid tracking rate of 95% or greater. You mustn't exceed a cancellation rate of 2.5%. And you mustn't exceed a late shipment rate of 4%. You will also have had to fill at least 100 packages during the 90 days. All right, so everybody pre-qualifies. Now you're eligible to register for trial. The trial duration is 30 days or 4 weeks. However, during this time, you will not receive Prime branding on your offers. This is because we want you to demonstrate that you're able to perform and meet all of the program requirements that our Prime customers have come to expect. So it's essentially mimicking the enrolled process or the enrolled experience. During the 30-day period, you will have to ship a minimum of 100 packages, and you want to make sure that you have consistent activity, so a consistent volume of shipments throughout the week. The following program requirements are going to be exactly the same requirements whether you're in trial or whether you are enrolled into Seller Fulfill Prime. This is because, again, we want you to demonstrate, be comfortable and confident knowing that you can meet the operations. So the first requirement is that you do have to operate 6 days a week. This means you have to operate on one of the weekend days, Saturday or Sunday. You can choose to operate on both if you'd like to, but the minimum requirement is 1 day. Amazon operates 7 days a week, 24/7. All we're asking for you guys to do is operate 6 days a week. There are no exceptions to this process. As a side note, we do have a minimum order cutoff time. So during the weekday, Monday through Friday, it's a 2 p.m. order cutoff time. On the weekend, however, it's 10:30 a.m. So that does not mean if you operate on the weekend, you have to operate for the entire day. You can set your order cutoff for 10:30. This is basically the customers who are placing the order have until 10:30 in order to meet the Prime delivery promises of 1 or 2 day. The next requirement is that you do have to offer free shipping nationwide. So with this, the setting is actually a default. You're not going to be able to change that in the ship templates. However, I bring that to your attention because Seller Fulfill Prime is a premium shipping program. With that comes premium shipping costs. So if you have one warehouse or a couple warehouses and maybe they're all central or located in one area, you do have to ship coast to coast. And so imagine that, if you were a seller in Florida, you're shipping a product to Seattle, Washington, you have to overnight it. That's a pretty expensive premium shipping cost to you. So I'm bringing this to your attention that you do have to offer that free shipping nationwide. The next requirement is that you do have to offer free returns for packages that are less than 50 pounds. This is another one that's actually a default setting. You're not going to be able to change that. However, it's another one that's going to potentially add cost to you for free returns. So I just bring that to your attention as well. The following performance metrics are the metrics you will need to meet. Again, these are the exact same metrics whether you're in trial or whether you're enrolled into the Seller Fulfill Prime program. You must meet or exceed a valid tracking rate of 99%. If you recall in the previous slide for FBM, the requirement there was 95%. In SFP, Seller Fulfill Prime, it is 99%. You do have to meet or exceed an on-time delivery rate of 93.5%, and you mustn't exceed a cancellation rate of 0.5%. Again, in that previous slide for Fulfill by Merchant, FBM, the cancellation rate requirement was 2.5%. SFP is 0.5%. The reason why we do have a little stricter requirements for both valid tracking rate and the cancellation rate is because, again, this is a premium program. Our Prime customers are expecting their orders very quickly, next day, 2 days from now. The customer wants to know and be able to go and track, where's my item, especially if it's a very important item that they're really waiting for. So we want to make sure that we're meeting that customer Prime expectation, as well as cancellation rates. So you do have a requirement to ship same day. And with that, if you have a ton of order cancellations, that's a very poor Prime customer experience. So we want to make sure that the cancellations are brought to a very low minimum. Moving on to the delivery speed requirement. This is essentially what the customers see, their promised delivery, when they're on the product detail page and they see the winning featured offer. There's a few different size tiers that we have for the program. We have standard size, oversized, and extra large. And as you can see, there are different requirements based on 1 day and 2 day promised delivery speeds. To give you an example to help you understand what this metric does is that if you had 100 customers who are viewing your featured offer, I'm going to use standard size as my example. 30 of those 100 customers must be shown a 1 day or faster promise, and 70 of those 100 customers must be shown a 2 day or faster promise. See the 2 days less than or equal to, it does include anything that's a faster speed, which means anything that's 1 day or faster. All right, so the policy changes that went into effect as of the end of June. I'll be going over a few key policies that'll help you understand what these changes were. The first policy that we rolled out is that you will have a minimum shipping requirement of 100 packages per month with consistent activity throughout the week. This mimics the exact trial experience. We want to make sure that you're demonstrating your activity, that the customers have different selection that's available to them on a regular basis. Now, keep in mind that if you don't meet this minimum shipping requirement, that does not mean you will be removed from the program or that you'll be enforced in any way. This is essentially just to ensure that you're able to demonstrate the operations and activity. So what we will do is we'll actually put an order cap on your daily orders that you're able to ship out or receive for Prime. And again, we're doing this because we're really trying to protect you from volume surges. imagine you're a seller and you only ship about 50, 60 packages a month. Now it's a peak event, Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or a Christmas holiday, right? And let's say you receive 5,000 orders a day. It could happen. So that's a tremendous amount of orders that you may not be prepared to handle in your operations. So we put that order cap there to make sure that you're aware of what's happening and the types of volumes that you're receiving. What happens is, during this time, we're actually calculating based on your historical average. So this is going to be based on the sales volume that you normally do outside of peak events, and we'll use that to calculate what your cap is going to be. So that means you're not going to be affected. Like if you typically sell about 50 items a month, you won't be affected by this cap. It's letting you sell exactly how you normally operate. But again, we're just protecting you from those extreme surges. If you do end up meeting the minimum 100-day packages within the month, that cap is removed. Okay? The second policy is performance exemption on your second day notices. SFP, Seller Fulfill Prime, is a 3-strike program. Essentially, that means we're going to give you 2 warnings, and on your third infraction where you're unable to meet a performance metric for the same metric, you will be removed from the program. So the first email or the first infraction you receive will send you an email notice that says, hey, go take a look at this metric. You didn't meet it for whatever reason. Go see what's happening. On the second notice for the same metric, if you receive that within a 28-day period, we're going to send you another email notice, but we'll actually go in and disable your Prime badge. This button that we use is something that you fully control. You can actually go in and turn it right back on right after you receive the infraction. You can turn it on the next day. However, keep in mind that when we're monitoring your performance, in the current week, we will be looking at the prior 7-day performance of Sunday through Saturday. And when we're looking at that this week on Sunday, because we have a few days to make sure all the data is settling, it's pretty much halfway through the week, right? And then by the time we do issue any notices to you, it's typically going to be on a Thursday. So the whole week went by. If something was happening last week that you weren't aware of, and you didn't actually get noticed until we sent you that notice information, you may still have the same performance issue for the current week from Sunday through Thursday, right? And so what this exemption does is that when we do disable your Prime badge, if you keep that disabled throughout the rest of the week, you will be exempted from any performance issues that you have in that current week, okay? So this protects you, and it of course protects the customer from receiving, poor customer experience. If you choose to enable Prime before the week is over, this is you indicating to us that there's nothing wrong with your operations, that you're good to go, and that week is fair game. We will be reviewing your performance, and if you have any performance issues, you will be receiving the infraction. Keep in mind that this is your second notice when this happens, so by the time this occurs, if you do re-enable that, that will be your third strike, which means you will be removed from SFP, okay? The next one is protection from network disruptions. So we made this a formal policy. We've been doing this behind the scenes, but we made it more formal to you, where if there were any extreme events or anything that's affecting, more broad scale network, where, there might be like winter storms or hurricanes, maybe there's flooding, it's affecting multiple carriers, multiple regions, we will exempt you from that disruption, okay? Now, we're not the weatherman, so we're not going to know every single isolated event that's happening in the United States. If for some reason the carrier didn't send us information on that and you saw that you received some type of notice about this, go ahead and submit an appeal with your support. If we find that's valid, we will exempt you from that infraction that you received. This is a good segue into the next one, which is our new 2-week appeals window. So we did introduce the ability for sellers to submit an appeals. You can actually proactively submit an appeal. So let's say you noticed in the current week where we're not going to be monitoring it as of yet. So in the current week, something happened. Hey, this is happening in my area. Here's the information. We'll keep that in mind as we're doing the monitoring for that performance week. So what this appeals window allows you to do is submit an appeal with your support. We will take a look at that, but you do have 2 weeks from the infraction that you received. This is because we expect our Seller Fulfilled Prime sellers to be monitoring their performance on a daily basis. And once you receive that infraction, you should be able to quickly notify us of, hey, this is what happened, here's the reason for that happening, and here's my information. You do also have a response time limit where if we do send you an email for additional information, you will have 72 hours to send that back to us with whatever requests that we made. All right, so changes to our trial, enrollment, and graduation. So the first change that we made is that we are limiting the trial experience to 3 times per calendar year. So this is the entries you can come into the trial program. We do this because I'm sure none of you sellers are doing this, but we found historically that there are some sellers who will go through a trial period, they'll be removed because they're not able to meet some type of performance metric. They didn't actually make enough changes or make any changes at all, and they'll come and re-enter the trial, and it continues to be a cycle. They'll be removed, come back in, removed, come back in. So even though you're not receiving a Prime badge during this time, this is still offering customers 1 and 2 day premium speeds, and that's giving them a poor customer experience over and over and over. So we decided, hey, you know what, let's limit the trial experience to 3 times per calendar year. This will hopefully allow sellers to go and really spend the time and figure out what's affecting your operations. Maybe it's something you have to figure out with the carrier, something you have to improve in your, your warehouse. And then once you're really confident you're able to meet the requirements, enroll back in. The next change that we made is that we will have a trial period graduation restriction 30 days before a peak event. So what that means is you can still enter trial, but 30 days before there's a peak event like Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or a Christmas holiday, you won't be able to graduate and become an enrolled seller, even if you were meeting all of the metrics, right? So you got to keep in mind when that graduation restriction kicks in. On our help pages, we do have it posted there. Whenever an event is coming up, we'll let you know the last date you can enter trial and when the actual graduation date is. As a side note, yesterday, September 15th, was the last day that you could enter trial and graduate into the program for the rest of the year. This is because we have back-to-back peak events. We have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then we have the Christmas peak. And so it was yesterday. Hopefully you guys all saw that. And if you have any questions about that, come chat with me after the presentation. The last change that we made to trial is that we did remove the waiting period before you can enter back into trial. Prior to this policy change, what you had to do was, so the trial is a 30-day period or a 4-week period. If you were removed prior to the 30 days being completely over, you would have to wait until the full 30 days was completed before you can actually re-register for trial, assuming that you pre-qualify. We took that away because we now have the 3 per calendar year where you can only register 3 times a year. And so, it's your choice. If you're ready to go, maybe something happened, you're like, you know what, that was an isolated incident. I figured it out, it's done. A week later, I want to enroll back into trial. That's definitely your decision. All right, and the next policy change, and I think this is our most positive feedback that we've received so far, is the on-time delivery rate protection. This protection protects you when you ship on time. If the carrier is delivering the product late, you will be protected from those late deliveries. However, you do have to meet 3 requirements in order to receive this exemption. 1, you have to be using our ship settings automation template, so you do have to enable that. 2, you have to be directly integrated with Buy Shipping services or through Vico, the shipping integrator, who is directly integrated with Buy Shipping. Within Buy Shipping services, you must purchase a label that actually has the OTDR protected badge. There's another protection badge there that's called Claims Protected. Don't confuse the two because Claims Protected has been there for as long as I can remember. And that Claims Protected badge is really protecting you from A to Z claims. So this is when customers call in and say, hey, I didn't receive the product. It'll protect you from those types of claims that are coming through. So it's very important that you select the right OTDR protected badge. Just because you're integrated with Buy Shipping and you're purchasing a label through Buy Shipping does not automatically grant you this protection. That badge is very important. And lastly, as I mentioned, shipping on time. This is the minimum thing we ask you to do. If you ship on time, we're doing all of the promise calculations and the promised deliveries to the customer. So it's only fair that we are exempting you if the packages are late. Okay, so that's very important. Ship on time, use ship settings automation, and be integrated with Buy Shipping, purchasing an OTDR claim badge label. All right, so moving on to the tips to succeed as a Seller Fulfilled Prime seller. This is certainly not all the tips that we can recommend, but these are just the main key tips that we do see come up very often for questions from our sellers. So the first tip is, what's my strategy, or what's the best products that are suited for the program? Not everything is going to be a great fit for SFP. Again, premium shipping, premium costs. You don't want to put your $10 items in our program, right? So the different types of selection is going to be the heavy and bulky, so the oversized large items. We have slow moving goods. There's hazmat items, so Amazon does have a restriction for hazmat, and so this is a great option for you. As a side note for hazmat, hazmat is actually, you can only ship it via ground, right? You can't overnight air this. And so hazmat does not have the nationwide requirement, regardless of size tier. You can actually restrict this to regional locations, so nearby your warehouse. You can deliver via ground 1 to 2 days using ground speeds based on what the carrier is able to do. Or it's through the standard ship options, which is a 3 to 5 day delivery range. And lastly, high value products. Again, I mentioned premium program, premium costs. So you want to make sure you're choosing the types of items that have a high value price where you have enough margin to cover for your premium shipping. All right, the next tip is don't enroll your full portfolio. So I mention this often when I'm doing recommendations for sellers and their different strategies for our businesses. So what we always recommend to sellers is that start out small. When you go into trial, it doesn't mean you have to put in all the ASINs that you normally want to enroll into SFP. If you were a seller and you sold about, you had 1,000 ASINs in your catalog, maybe you're picking 100 of those to enroll into trial. Pick the ones that are, the best sellers who have the most views and that you're able to meet that minimum shipping requirement of 100 packages a month, right? And so you're picking those types of items, maybe focus on one size tier. You can do all three, but it just makes it more difficult for you if there's an issue and you're trying to navigate how to solve what problem it is and how to fix that. So start out small, go through the trial experience, make sure that you're able to meet those requirements. Once you graduate and you're enrolled into Seller Fulfilled Prime, I still recommend that you keep it the same as you had in trial, because now you have the Prime badge, and that could change your order volume because customers are viewing for Prime badge and it might increase your sales, right? And so continue to monitor the same volume you had. Once you're confident that you're actually able to meet and continue consistently meeting the program requirements, now start expanding your selection. Add more ASINs that you think would be a good fit, or expanding into the other size tiers. Okay, the next one is optimizing your warehouse operations. So this is a given. Make sure you're training your warehouse staff. Make sure they know that they should prioritize any of these prime orders, right? Because they need to go out the door first. If you're, packing the truck, you want to make sure that the prime orders are in the front so that when they unload, it's going to be unloaded first, right? You want to make sure that you're keeping a good eye on your inventory and that everything is in stock. And of course, preparing for any sudden surges that happen due to peak or any issues that are going to happen related to, weather. So keep an eye on that. As I mentioned, we do offer weather protection, but at the end of the day, it's the customer experience that we're trying to protect. If you find that the weather is, it's a, long winter storm, it hasn't solved within a few days, something is happening, you may want to disable your Prime badge in order to protect that customer experience, because they're going to continue seeing potentially faster speeds depending on the region they're located, and this could be a poor experience for them. And of course, if you're unsure of what's happening in your operations, or you want to spend some time to navigate like what's going on, you're always able to go and disable the Prime badge, figure out what's happening. That's why that button is there for you. So pause Prime. You'll continue receiving your standard orders if you're enrolled into other programs like FBM. And then when you're ready, re-enable your Prime badge to start receiving Prime orders. All right. The next one that I'll cover is streamlining fulfillment operations. So this is more carrier-based. make sure that you have a strong relationship with your carrier. You want to make sure that you're able to contact your carrier if anything is happening, because one day missing, like a performance metric or something is happening, like you have a day drop, it could actually impact your entire week's performance depending on the volume you have. So make sure you're able to have that strong relationship with your carrier. You can give them a call, tell them to figure out, what's happening, have meetings with them, and make sure that they're meeting the SLA that they've agreed with you based on your contract terms. And this is a little bit of a challenge I understand from some sellers, is that we always recommend that you are flexible with your carrier choice. So you want to be able to switch from one carrier to the other. I understand that there are times where sellers actually have better negotiated rates than we do. Through Buy Shipping, you can use our negotiated rates, but sometimes sellers actually have better negotiated rates than we do. You're able to link your account there and use your negotiated rates, right? So usually with this, there's a volume requirement from the carrier. So I understand that can be hard from you from a cost perspective, but if there's something happening in the network and carrier A is not able to deliver your packages on time, you want to be able to move to a different carrier who's able to meet that delivery requirement. This protects your eligibility in the program, and of course, it protects the customer experience. All right. So just as a side bonus, premium ship options. So, I heard that there's not a lot of knowledge around this premium shipping area. Premium shipping is a sister program to Seller Fulfilled Prime. It allows you to offer 1 and 2 day delivery, just like Seller Fulfilled Prime. The only thing is, it does not give you the Prime badge. So you won't receive Prime badge on here, but it still has the increase of winning the featured offer and increase in sales. It's a great option. The other great things about this program is that it is a regional program. So if you have low priced items or these small standard size items, those would be a great fit outside of FBA, if it's not an FBA, to enroll into this premium shipping program. And you're basically doing a hybrid model of premium shipping as well as Seller Fulfilled Prime. So some of the items where you're like, I'm not able to meet the Seller Fulfilled Prime requirements here, or it's very expensive for me, choose premium ship options. You get that bump in featured offer as well as conversion. And you can also pass the cost on to the customer for your shipping costs. Most of our sellers offer free shipping because that is more competitive for the featured offer and it's a better customer experience, but that is an option that we provide with this. If anybody wants to learn more about the strategy to do hybrid between premium ship options and Seller Fulfilled Prime, happy to chat with you after the presentation, or stop by at our Fulfilled by Merchant booth, and happy to talk to you then. All right, so moving on into the analytics. We have a Seller Fulfilled Prime dashboard that all sellers have access to, whether you're in trial or whether you're an enrolled seller. Use this dashboard. It has all of your performance metrics. We have reporting that you can go in and research and investigate what's happening. If you look here, the top part of the dashboard is going to cover your pre-fulfillment metrics, which is your speed metrics. This will show you the various tiers, the size tiers that you have available that you're enrolled in, and you can see the performance based on how you're doing. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a button where you can actually download the speed report. This is going to give you a view of all of your ASINs that you have enrolled in the program that's impacted by the week that you selected. So you can choose one of the pre-filtered buttons, or you can actually use a custom date range, whatever it is that you want to research. Use this to figure out if there's a specific ASIN that's tanking your performance. Maybe you need to remove that ASIN and figure out what's happening before you bring it back in, or you find out it's just not a good fit for SFP. You keep it out, maybe you enroll it to premium ship options. Below the speed metric, we do have your post-fulfillment metrics, which is on-time delivery, valid tracking rate, as well as cancellation rate. So this is going to show you how you're performing for the post-fulfillment. If you look at the on-time delivery rate, you do see the different carriers that you selected, and it'll show you the performance of those carriers based on how they're delivering your products, okay? We also have, in the upper right corner in this section, a defect report that you can download. It combines all of the defects related to all of those 3 post-fulfillment metrics that we monitor, and you'll see this type of report. In the report, you can see the order ID, the promise ship date, delivery promise date, and then the actual ship date, actual delivery information. We show your carrier, the ship method, And we also show you the zip region. So the zip code region and destination. This is a highly valuable tool for you to use in the report to investigate if it's a certain concentrated area that has been a problem. You can use this to talk to your carrier, figure out what's happening in Florida or what's happening in New Jersey. So please use this dashboard and make sure you're monitoring your performance on a daily basis. All right, so that concludes the presentation.